important day in America in more than 50 years. He says it will change everything about our lives. The way you shop, travel, invest, educate your children, and even how you take care of your health and your own family. Now, this man has made some outrageous predictions over the years. The crazy part is, he's usually right. You see, he predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. Recently, he created a video, which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica, the number 3.com. Watch the free video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com. Hello, friends. Alex Jones here. You all know I've worked for years with Steve Shank and eFoods Direct. I have eFoods for my own emergency food supply. You know, Steve, life is different now for all of us, isn't it?
Very different. People are using this great food to survive the present hurricane season, and we've already had $40 billion worth of damage from floods, storms, quakes, and droughts. And that's just the first 8 months of this year. Natural disasters are newsworthy, but only touch a few of us Americans. The huge issue of the Greatest Depression is on everyone's mind. The unemployment, the loss of homes, lost businesses, and skyrocketing food costs are hitting every American, so everyone needs food security.
Folks, this month you will get free shipping on every food order from eFoods Direct. That's right, every order gets free shipping starting September 6th. Get stocked up with the best storable foods out there with eFoods Direct, and be prepared for any emergency before it happens. To take advantage of this special, call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As we're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
They have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today, it seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at prisonplanet.tv. The globalists are following a blueprint. They're following a program of control. And everything Pastor's ever called in with is checked out to be accurate. He broke here on this network. Then other pastors came forward. And he even got a FEMA Homeland Security visit. They figured out who'd sent me the documents. While the public was busy saying they were fake documents that had actual FEMA phone numbers about teacher flocks to turn their guns in when told, to go to the FEMA center, to take the shots. It's of the Lord. And a few years later, they had different newscasts around the country with preachers saying, it's of the Lord to go to the camp. Martial law is good. Let's do what the authorities say. We're the government's problem. The American people are bad. I mean, I've played that probably 50 times here on air. And they just say it with a straight face. The government's biggest problem is you. See, you're not the government now. You're the enemy. You're the slave. You're the terrorist. You're the bad one. What did the Army person earlier calling in about people protesting outside their drone base in America? The police in there called them terrorists, the MPs. I've got FEMA on tape before 9/11, 2000, Kansas City. Firemen shot the video. In there with firefighters, deputies, and police, and they were bad-mouthing George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, saying America's bad. And people see this footage and don't think it's real. The government is run by hardcore criminals, and they go in and teach the cops all this. And if the cops wake up, good, you just get kicked out of the force or relegated to supply or something. Yeah, sure, they've had all the different surveys of the troops, will you shoot at Americans? And on average, it's close to 80% usually that say no. Well, you just get shot up with all the deadly vaccines and shipped overseas for 6 tours. But the guys that say they'll shoot at Americans, they're like, all right, you're an officer, boom. And by the way, when you're out here in 4 years, we got a police department waiting for you. And a lot of these cops now, we showed you that internal memo from DPS, they said, we want military. We want military. That's who we're actually only going to hire. Total discrimination against the rest of the population. Specific military were sent by the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense is like, here's somebody who'll do whatever they're told. They'll take every shot we give them. They'll confiscate every gun we tell them to take. They're like, all right, they're going in a DPS trooper uniform. They're fast-tracked. They're in. It's over. And they're just forging this army of miscreants against us who will do whatever they are told. The last number we got a few years ago was 100,000 preachers, and it grows exponentially. It doubles every year. And we got that 3 years ago, I guess, 2.5, 3 years ago. So it had started with 10,000, then 20,000, then 40,000, then 80,000. So it's more than 100,000 preachers in America. And then now you see the actual propaganda in the sermons and on TV. Romans 13, do what government says. Hard times are coming. This was all being done before the implosion of the economy. All premeditated. That is right out of the Soviet Union. The preachers trained. And the manuals, go to the camp. I mean, this is total evidence of the government getting ready during emergencies to have your pastor come in and say, just like in Red Dawn, a fictitious example of the Soviets taking over part of the U.S. And who do they have? They have the preacher, they have the mayor. All, cowards, the politicians there to keep the city in line. And they come to the mayor and they say, we want you to give us names of the families and kids. We're going to kill them. The mayor goes, isn't that a little harsh? And they said, listen, you're only in the position you are because we want you there. Do you want to be arrested? And he's like, no, I'll report on all the children too. Good. That's who they are. They love feds coming in. Now you tell them to go to the camp when we say. They're like, yes, sir, I will. Instead of completely freaking out. It's secret police coming in. We want you to watch your flock and report on them. But it's all done in a friendly, for the security of America, we got hit by Al-Qaeda. That's always at first, and later it's like, it's these Ron Paul groups who want you to target them. When the time comes, you tell them it's of the Lord to take the shots. It's of the Lord to go to the camp. It's of the Lord to turn their guns in. And those preachers actually get off on it. They're like, yes. And their seminaries order them. All these big centralized World Council of Churches, Rockefeller system, they all tell them what to do. And if their preacher won't do it, I know a lot of preachers are forced into retirement, then they send in the next ones. They send them in. They send in these weird husband and wife teams and the rest of it, and they come in, and it's Bill and Melinda Gates is here. Take the shots. It's of the Lord. Ooh, it's so lordly. Right here in Austin. Government operatives coiled up like big, fat cobras, just sitting up there at the front of the church. I mean, you talk about a wicked government. And, of course, this all went on under Bush, so folks are like, it's of the Lord, faith-based initiative. And as soon as the churches go along with the evil, they get the free trucks, they get the free TVs, they get the money. All right, now, I got to get to other news and your calls, but Pastor was bringing up some of these high-level folks he was talking to, and they were saying the way they're going to get the global government is through technology deals. Well, that's always public. See, a lot of these feds think they've got something that's secret. Just because the general public doesn't know how to tie their shoes and doesn't know which end is up doesn't mean all the stuff you think so secret isn't actually public in white papers. And in any organic intelligence operation, the movements and the systems of the globalists reveal what's happening beneath the surface as well. And because the globalists know we're so dumbed down, they operate in full view with just simple label changes on what they're doing. So their entire op is completely transparent and nightmarish. They don't even care I get on air and talk about uranium being added to the water supplies. Then they just come out and respond, and because local newscasters hear it. Notice this all broke in Texas, because I was pointing out some cases in Texas. And then they go out and test the pipes, and they're highly radioactive, and the government comes in and says, it's in the aquifer. And the local news goes, all right, it's in the aquifer. Then we've got to say, no, test the aquifer water. It's not the aquifer. It's being added in the sodium fluoride now. There's local newscasts going, the feds told us that it was in the aquifer, but it wasn't. We're trying to find out where it come from. because their bosses at the news stations won't let them say it's the government. Oh, Mr. Jones or Mr. Johnson or Mr. Brown or Mrs. Brown, that's too inflammatory to say it's the sodium fluoride. Well, boss, I'm trying to get into the water treatment plant. I'm trying to get in right now, but they're not letting me get in. Reportedly, I can get samples from what they're adding. Reportedly, it's on the bag. We don't want to cause trouble with the city here now. Don't report that. We're going to keep feeding our kids uranium. We do. We told. The preacher said it's Romans 13. Ah! Do you hear what I'm talking about? Do you hear the incredible bombshell nature of it? Every morning I wake up like out of a dream. Oh, everything's all right. Oh, my gosh, it's all real. Every day it hits me just how hardcore it is, just how incredible it is, just how evil it is, how amazing it is. Up until 3 years ago, in every manual in every country, they said never give a pregnant woman a vaccine. It causes brain damage or miscarriage. Now they say in TV ads, vaccinate more when you're pregnant. And the women's babies die, and it's all a test to see if they can kill your baby and then handle it and how to finagle it through the news media, because they want to start killing more and more people now. And just get it kind of normal. Oh, breast cancer. I actually looked up the numbers yesterday. Breast cancer has tripled since 1981. CDC's own numbers. I covered that last night on the news. Tripled. And they say it's set to triple again. And I know it feels too good to believe in the system, and it's too scary, so you're not going to believe me, new listeners. I understand. You're going to sit there and bury your daughter, bury your mother, bury your wife. Oh, isn't it fun to watch your wife getting chopped up and burned and watching their beautiful breasts get removed and all of this hell, and then watching them shrivel up and sticking them in the ground? It's too much fun to buy into the evil. It's too much fun to love it. It's too much fun to get into it. It's just, you love it. 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 And you will continue to love it. I'm talking to you out there that won't listen to me. I want it to stop now. Now! And the only way it's going to stop is waking up to the full horror of what we got going here. But it's not. We're not going to turn this around, ladies and gentlemen, until you grow up. I told you each time they have a bailout, it's going to get worse. I told you they'd announce a Bank of the World run by private banks. It's all been announced. They're announcing it as a political dictatorship run by banks in Europe. We're already under it with the Super Congress. And the sick thing is 99.999. Jaron, do the number out of 7 billion people. Divide 6,000 into 7 billion, please. The globalists say there's 6 billion superclass minions, less than 20 families. Rothkopf, best-selling Washington Post articles about it, everything. Superclass. We've had him on. Head of the Kissinger Group. He thought I was Alex S. Jones of the Shorenstein Center, who also does commentary on NPR. He figured out it was. That has been very useful. These guys, a lot of times that happens. They figure out it's not Alex S. Jones. We don't tell them I'm Alex S. Jones. But they just, Alex S. Jones is called. Certainly I'll. Because, see, normally nobody wants to interview CFR heads and, groups like that. No one's really calling them except for national news. That's not on the radar for talk radio, because Rush Limbaugh used to say it didn't exist. I heard him 20 years ago say the CFR didn't exist. Didn't exist. Didn't exist. And so you call these guys up and they automatically think, it's another one of them. Because nobody wants to interview them but their own people. How many times does 6,000 divide into 7 billion? Well, we'll get that going here. Let's go ahead and go back to Pastor in Ohio, and I got to get to the other callers since we got Peter Schiff coming up and Kurt Haskell. Heaven help us. Go ahead, Pastor. Finish your point.
Okay, you mentioned the cancer, how it's increasing. Like I said, they're going to offer, what it said is they're going to offer new technology to prolong people's life. Yeah,
they give you the bioweapon, they then give you the treatment, but it sterilizes you.
Right. But it offers longer life. They've been playing with this all along with government assistance and everything else just to see how people will follow. Now, here's the thing. Churches are actually pushing people away instead of helping them. They're pushing people away towards the government.
Yes.
Because they can't afford it. They need to spend their money on all this high technology and pastor salaries and all these other things and programs